This is Occupy Your Mind. I'm Kate from New Jersey, performing Patrick from New Haven, Connecticut. Okay, my name is Patrick. About getting involved with the Occupy movement, I think about getting involved with activism in general. I think that I got involved with the Occupy movement because of the Tea Party. Because I was watching television, I was like, okay, and a whole bunch of my friends who I thought were rational people, all of a sudden were going crazy. And I'm like, oh, what's this? You know, like, oh, watching TV and all these people are fighting the government. And I'm like, what's wrong with the government? Oh, well, it's corrupt. And so I watch their commercials and I go watch Fox News and I see a John Wayne impersonator at the rallies and all, you know. And basically you just get this impression of it being a real dog and pony show. And I was like, okay, this is not a people's movement. And then when the Occupy movement came along, I'm like, oh, this is actually doing something. The story started when I was a kid and went to Quebec. My family just went to Quebec on vacation. We're having a good time, and then my parents were sort of like, okay, we can't go out today because we have to take your mom to the hospital. And I'm like, okay, why is she going to the hospital? And they're like, well, we're here because she has breast cancer. So I'm like, oh, okay, but why are we here? And he's like, well, because we can't afford to go to the United States. And my mom was French, so she could go to Canadian hospitals. And I just thought it was strange, like, why do we have to go to an entire new country to take care of that? And it was like, well, we can't get insurance at home. All our money is tied into just trying to survive. And I noticed things after that, and friends, most people are just on their treadmill, just trying to make it to the next paycheck. And, you know, I guess they all, everything is stacked against them. I was talking to a friend of mine who worked for a print agency, newspapers, whatever, and he worked there for 50 years. And then the company had problems and went under. And somehow the people who ran this company convinced this judge to sign off on using the pension funds to go into bankruptcy and reform the company. And then the company failed, and he lost his pension. And that's an example. It's like, why did that judge sign off on it? Why wasn't he listening to those people? Or people like, why did that happen? Most of my Tea Party friends were like, oh, what are you doing out there in New Haven? How many girls you picked up? And because they're saying you just go down there and pick up hippie chicks, so that's what you do. I'm like, no, we're having marches, we're passing out leaflets, we're trying to change the world. And he thinks if you're not well, that's another trope. If you're not a hardworking businessman, you're a leech. Or I have a lot of friends who are teachers, and what about the people who try to help our society? But they take tax money because they work for the government, or that they're teachers, they get tax money. This or they're, at that point, what, police or firemen, they do the same thing. But their whole thing is unless you're a businessman, unless you watch money or invest money, you're just someone who lives off the taxes of others. And I'm like, oh yeah, so that's what and they make fun of Occupy, oh, you're just a bunch of hippies living on the green. They want us to provide them food and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's not fun living on the green. I don't think people want to live in tents and be cold because it's really cold out. Oh, well, I was noticing, the people against the movement, when I ask them, I'm like, don't you agree there's something wrong? Well, yeah, but yeah. No. Well, what do you think you should do about it? Yeah. Well, I don't want the government telling me what to do. I was like, well, who else is going to do it?